From the outside, it's a familiar story. Millennials, the generation that rents too long, travels too much, delays real life, and won't stop talking about burnout. Everyone has a theory. Bad with money, entitled, addicted to expenses. This isn't a video about calling millennials bad with money. It's a video about why, if you lived their timeline, you'd probably make a lot of the same choices. Lena looks at the same list every month. Rent that's higher than her parents' old mortgage, student loans that never quite seem to shrink, an automatic transfer into an investing app, a flight she took 6 months ago, last week's therapy session. To most people, her money life looks contradictory. Jordan's list looks similar in a different order. Rent, loans, automatic transfer into a high-yield savings account, payments from clients he works with after hours. Same generation, different details. Same punchline from the outside. They're doing adulthood wrong. On one side of the split, someone is saying, if you can afford trips and gadgets, why can't you just buy a house? On the other side, Lena and Jordan are thinking variations of the same thing. I'm doing the best I can in a game that doesn't look anything like the one you played. If that sounds uncomfortably familiar, you're exactly who this story is about. Millennial money habits aren't glitches. They're survival strategies for a game that changed mid-level. Before anyone joked about avocado toast, Lena and Jordan were teenagers in hallways full of college brochures. The money story they heard sounded simple. Go to a good school. Take the loans if you have to. It'll pay off. The chart made it look like a guarantee, not a bet. Debt was good debt. Degree meant job. Job meant stability. Stability meant house, family, retirement. The neat brochure version of life. Around the kitchen table, Lena's parents nodded along. They remembered a world where a degree really did open doors. They didn't talk about interest rates or repayment options. They talked about being proud she got in. They said things like, "We'll figure the money out. This is what you're supposed to do." Jordan's family had a different version of the same script. Less savings, more stretch. His parent signed anyway because this is how you don't end up like us. So they both signed. Their first major financial decisions didn't feel like decisions. They felt like the next line in a story everyone expected them to follow. No one told them the story itself was about to change. Fast forward, they walk off the stage with diplomas in their hands and straight into a job market their parents never had to navigate. The postings all read the same: entry level with requirements that sound anything but. Full-time roles replaced by contract work. Benefits replaced by 1099. Lena's first real years are a patchwork. A retail job that finally comes with health insurance. A nonprofit internship she hopes will turn into a job. A side gig tutoring on the weekends. Jordan's first years look similar in a different outfit. Gig work to pay the bills. Short-term contracts that end with a short email. A startup job that disappears when the funding dries up. Fast forward a few months, and a pattern sets in. They did the applications, the interviews, the degrees, the late nights. On paper, they did everything right. But their first impression of adult life is simple. You can follow the script exactly and still fall straight through the floor. Underneath all of it, the loans hum in the background. Not as one big scary number, but as a monthly bill that never misses a beat. They don't walk around thinking, I owe $30,000 or $45,000. They think, that's $350 every month, maybe for the next 20 years. Every job decision, every move, every risk has to pass through that filter first. For a lot of millennials, the first decade of adulthood is spent just trying to get back to zero. That changes what smart with money looks like. It changes what feels rational to aim for. And once doing everything right doesn't work, the choices people make with their money start to shift in ways that look strange from the outside. From the outside, the critique writes itself. You can't afford a house, but you're flying to Lisbon? You're broke, but you're going to Coachella? Lena has run the numbers. The starter home in her city costs 6 or 7 times her salary. The down payment alone wants $60,000. The trip she just booked cost $800. One of those feels impossible right now. The other feels like a chance to feel alive this year. Even if she did everything right, that number is years away. And that's if prices stop moving, which they rarely do. Her parents bought at 3 times income. She's staring at 6, 7, 8. Same language, starter home. Very different math. So she does something that confuses people. She spends on things that don't look like assets. Weekends away in cheap Airbnbs, concerts where she sings until she loses her voice, therapy sessions that finally help her sleep, small rituals that make the hard years feel like they mean something. Jordan does his version of the same trade. He skips the new phone this year, but pays for a trip to see his long-distance partner and a class that might help him change industries. From the outside, it reads as irresponsibility. From the inside, it's risk management of a different kind. A house she realistically can't get into isn't a realistic goal. It's a ghost. A plane ticket you already took can't be foreclosed on. A memory doesn't crash with the market. It doesn't depend on interest rates or the next headline. It's one of the few payoffs that feels guaranteed in a life where almost nothing else does. Experience spending isn't about avoiding adulthood. It's a rational way to pull some value forward when the big milestones feel delayed, fragile, or out of reach. But experiences alone don't quiet the anxiety. When the floor has dropped once, you start looking for more levers to pull. Then there's the side hustle. From the outside, it looks like hustle culture, ambition, grinding. From the inside, it often feels like insurance. Lena has watched We're Like a Family turn into Your Role Has Been Eliminated in a single email. Her friends have stories, short notice, severance if you're lucky, no script for what happens after. So one paycheck doesn't feel like a plan. It feels like a single point of failure. The second stream she builds at night isn't always a passion project. Sometimes it's just an exit hatch. Jordan's version is freelance work. Design projects, contract coding, whatever will pay. He doesn't love every gig, but he loves that the invoice lands in a different place than his paycheck. He's not trying to become a millionaire overnight. He's trying to make sure one broken promise doesn't take him down with it. The cost is real. Exhaustion, burnout, less rest. But so is the logic. In a world where the floor can drop out quickly, extra levers feel safer than faith in a single one. From the outside, another late-night project just looks like more millennial chaos. From the inside, it's the same pattern you've seen all along. What looks like a glitch from a distance is actually a survival strategy for a game that changed mid-level. Here's the part that confuses older generations. Millennials like Lena and Jordan aren't clueless about money. Lena knows what an index fund is. She knows her employer's match policy. She set up auto invest before she ever sat across from a traditional advisor. Jordan has figured out that some of the funds in his 401k are expensive. He's learned the words expense ratio and basis points from strangers on the internet. In plain language, he's learning how much each fund quietly charges him every year just for the privilege of holding his money. But they also remember watching experts steer whole economies off a cliff. Lena has a mental snapshot of her parents at a kitchen table with a foreclosure letter. The product they were sold was safe, until it wasn't. So she leans on the tools she trusts: search bars, forums, online calculators, checklists she builds in a notes app. She cross-checks everything, accumulates screenshots, asks anonymous questions instead of risky ones in real life. Jordan tweaks his own sequence: 401k to the match, then a Roth IRA, then a simple brokerage account with a boring index fund. They're the generation that believes you can learn almost anything online. A video, a thread, a PDF can compress years of someone else's mistakes. But they also know that trusting the wrong person, the wrong expert, the wrong product can quietly cost them whole decades. So they double-check everything and still lie awake some nights wondering if there's a lever everyone else seems to know about that they somehow missed. From the outside, this looks like overconfidence. From the inside, it's self-defense. It's not that they hate advice. They just treat every new script like something that has to be stress tested before they can let it anywhere near their future. They've already lived through one broken script. They're cautious about renting another one. Put it all together, and the habits people clown millennials for don't look so random anymore. Renting longer? They watched housing outrun their paychecks and remember what happens when a mortgage becomes a trap. Spending on experiences? They're not sure the later they were promised is guaranteed to show up, so they're trying to make now feel like a life, not just a waiting room. Side hustles stacked on top of jobs? They've seen one email erase a paycheck. Extra income streams feel less like greed and more like a backup plan. DIY finance and advisor skepticism? They grew up with both the internet and failed institutions, so they trust carefully. They followed the brochure they were handed until the brochure stopped matching the map. They didn't wake up one day and decide to be chaotic. They followed the instructions they were given until those instructions stopped working in the world they actually lived through. Millennial money habits aren't glitches. They're survival strategies for a game that changed mid-level. Lena isn't reckless or lazy. Jordan isn't either. They're disciplined inside a set of constraints that didn't exist for their parents. Their choices won't always look efficient on a spreadsheet, but they're patterned around the shocks they actually lived through. The point isn't to throw out every adaptation that kept you afloat. Some of them still make sense in a world that can shift under your feet. The work now is quieter, noticing which parts of the old survival script still fit and which ones might finally be safe to rewrite. Maybe renting longer still makes sense where you live. Maybe the side hustle is still your safety net. But maybe that constant doom scrolling or never letting yourself enjoy any of your money was only meant to get you through the last storm, not the rest of your life. If you see yourself in this, it's not about blaming your habits. It's about seeing the story underneath them so you can decide which ones still keep you safe and which ones are quietly keeping you stuck.